Prepare yourselves for a battle of epic proportions between two titans. Feast upon their voices and revel in their words. This is Dueling Ogres.
Hello, Ogres, and welcome to episode 31. Thank you for joining us as always on this reflective Wednesday evening, Earth Day, December 31st, 2014. I'm your host, Remington Hitchcock, and with me as always is my co-host, Brandon Full. God, I screwed it up for the first time in like 4 podcasts.
Yeah, seriously. You gonna do that again?
No, I'm not. Brandon Full. I'm here with Brandon Full.
I'm just a girl in the world. That's all that you'll let me be.
Well, that's because you got that sweet ass.
Yeah.
It's our 31st podcast on the 31st.
I was about to say the exact same thing, and our 27th podcast was on the 27th, on Thanksgiving. Or before Thanksgiving, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
The one that we fucked up.
Yeah.
You fucked up. Specifically you.
Yeah, it's all my fault. Everything's my fault forever.
I mean, are we going to address the holiday curse that at this point has got both our Thanksgiving and our Christmas episode? I listened to it. It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I breathe so loud into the microphone.
Yeah, I forget what it was that I was editing.
I'm like an old man.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it was the breathing. Especially because it was just your mic picking up both of us.
Well, I breathe through my mouth already, and then I come over here with cat hair and stuff, and I get stuffed up before we record.
Right.
So it wasn't just the breathing, it was me constantly sniffing, too.
Yeah, the sniffing, and I cut out quite a few of them,
It sounded like I was jogging and doing cocaine at the same time, just constantly. It was the noises I typically make in my basement right before I make sure the chains are tight and lock the door.
Right.
You know?
Get back in there, you. So, this is our last podcast of the year.
It is. And what's funny is they will be hearing this podcast like 2-3 days into the new year.
Right.
So, we're kind of time traveling, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
At this point, when they're listening to this recorded, the Mantis aliens will have probably ended the 24-hour war.
Yeah.
For good or ill, either we now realize we're not alone in the universe, or we're all enslaved by the Mantis people.
Wouldn't that be fucked up if that's what happened?
If that actually happened?
Yeah.
Would people look back on this podcast as like, I was some sort of prophet?
I hope
Would
so.
I be Bostradamus?
Bostradamus? Yes, I can only hope that that's what people would call you.
In 1,000 years, they're going to look back and listen to these podcasts and be like, he was right. Time has shown us that Benedict Cumberbatch really is overrated. Marvel has never made a bad movie.
It's true. These are all true statements.
So how was your Christmas?
My Christmas was busy. Busy. So, for Christmas, I think I've mentioned it, we made cookies for everybody in lieu of gifts because we're cheap bastards. The original plan was to do like a cookie a weekend leading up to Christmas. Well, that didn't happen, and we ended up doing 4 different kinds of cookies the weekend before Christmas. And on top of that, our resident stoner John came over for D&D, not knowing that D&D was canceled so we could get these cookies done.
Why didn't he read the Facebook group message?
Because John doesn't read anything forever.
Oh, fair enough.
He's far too stoned for that.
I gave you shit for making cookies for everybody.
Right.
And you brought and the girls' cookies over Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And I retracted my statement to you over Facebook after I saw them. Because you definitely put a lot of work into them. Yeah. I mean, you even iced the gingerbread. They were like zombie gingerbread men, right? Or zombie attack gingerbread men.
It's like they had already been bitten.
And you even iced the little bloodlines where they were bitten off.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Thanks.
I ate all of the children's gingerbread cookies.
Did you?
I gave them like a 2 or 3 day limit on, cookies are right out here. You can have them if you want them. They didn't touch the gingerbread men, so, manifest destiny. It's my apartment. I'm taking them. They were delicious, though. They were.
I'm glad you enjoyed them. We have a whole thing, so if you want some more gingerbread cookies, we can make you some more.
Yeah. I'll take gingerbread cookies all day.
So, the first thing we made was, some people call them Buckeyes. We call them chocolate-covered peanut butter balls.
Okay, I thought you were going to get racist with that for some reason.
But anyway, so we made those way in advance. We made like 154 of them. A full gallon freezer bag full of these things, and we still have probably a good 30 in the fridge still.
Did you...
And we threw extra ones into other people's things.
Did you overshoot how many you needed, or did you just make extra so you guys would have some too?
We didn't know how many we would get out of a batch, so we just made the batch and dipped until we were done.
That's romantic.
Yeah. It really was.
We just dipped until we were done.
So going back to John, he came over, and we were like, okay, well, we'll put him to work. He can make his own goddamn cookies.
So you made him make his own cookies?
Yeah, and that was a terrible mistake, because he was doing the chocolate chip, and John used to work at Pizza Place, where they make some delicious chocolate chip cookies.
Mm-hmm.
But he made it far more complicated than it needed to be, in that every time we were done putting out a batch to put into the oven, we would refrigerate the dough. And Ginger is just fuming in the background, just like, you don't have to fucking do that. Just fucking put them in and cook them and get them done, for God's sake.
So you
We
would,
have 3 other batches of cookies to make. Oh my God.
you would spread out the chocolate chip cookies and he would insist on refrigerating them first? Like you would put them on the pan, hey, they're done, throw them in the oven, and he would say, no, we gotta refrigerate them first?
No, the dough itself, to keep it hard, because they're easier to roll out, or they're easier to form and put on the pan.
Okay.
So, I mean, it makes sense, but it does make it far more time-consuming. So that took a lot of time.
So our resident stoner, what you're saying is our resident stoner took something simple and made it unnecessarily complicated?
Yes.
That's strange. I've never heard of that before.
Right? I know. All you stoners know what we're talking about. Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't eat that cookie dough.
Oh, he did.
Did he?
Yeah, a little bit.
God, cookie dough is delicious. I was never allowed to eat it growing up.
Yeah.
Were you? Were you allowed to eat like cookie dough and cake batter before it was made?
Yeah, I mean, we'd get to lick the bowl after it was...
My mom would always yell of like, there's raw eggs in it. You'd have to sneak
you'll
it.
survive.
Yeah, I know. I just eat raw eggs now.
Yeah.
I don't even take them out of the shell.
Like Beauty and the Beast style, cracking them open in a mug and just chugging them. You don't remember that? The big,
No.
muscly guy?
Oh, Gaston? Did he do that?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't remember that.
It was during his song. It was something like, I eat 4 raw eggs a day, blah, blah, blah.
Nah, I don't know. I'm not a teenage girl. I'm not
I don't-
super familiar with the intricacies of Beauty and the Beast.
I don't remember the movie
Anymore.
all that well, so...
There's some sort of beast in it. I do know that much.
And maybe a beauty of some sort, but...
Some sort of egg-swilling beast. You know, if you really watch that movie, the humans are the real beast. That's what Disney taught me.
So how about your Christmas? How was your Christmas?
My Christmas was good.
Yeah.
I did normal family stuff. Went to my dad's church Christmas Eve, opened presents. Christmas morning, I ran around everywhere. Did Christmas morning at my apartment with my girlfriend and her daughter. Drove and picked up my daughter from her mom's house. Then went to my parents with all of them for Christmas morning gifts. All of this was done by like 8 a.m.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm sort of a morning person, but morning is like 10:30 or 11 for me.
Right, yeah.
I'm pre-afternoon person, not morning person.
Yeah.
So I was home by about 12:30 and promptly took a nap. And then I got up and listened to podcasts and played Skyrim for like 6 hours straight. So it was a pretty good day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Ginger and I opened our Christmas presents to each other. It was technically Christmas. It was like 4 a.m. on Christmas.
See, you guys are a little bit luckier because you don't have to deal with like, fuck, the kids are going to have me up here at like 6 a.m.
Yeah. Yep, all you people with kids. I don't envy you.
It wasn't too bad because I got to go home and take a nap. And it's super cliche, but like watching a kid open a present and actually enjoy it, it's a good feeling. I get super sappy when it comes to Christmas time. I get real like, oh, at least I have my family and all.
Right.
For good or bad. You should tell, I don't know if you want to tell it, so you can cut this out if you don't want to, but do you want to tell the stocking story? Can you tell that? Because
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
I can
hilarious.
totally tell the
That was
stocking
cracking
story.
me up.
So, I am not a very good stocking stuffer.
Well, the last podcast we did, you specifically talked about how you're just not a very good gift giver in general.
Right.
You would rather just tell me what you want and I'll buy it
Yeah.
kind of person.
So I got Ginger a couple of pretty good gifts, and
So you gave her cookies?
So I gave her cookies. But I go to get my stocking, and there's just a ton of random things in there. There's like stickers and a pack of cigarettes and little postcards that she got that came with some of the other gifts that she got me. Because she got me some t-shirts and stuff, and they sent along with it. And she got a Woot box, which is kind of like a loot box or a loot crate.
Yeah.
And there was all sorts of just random odds and ends in there. So it was really cool. She got me a yo-yo, a little baby whisk, a tiny whisk guy, because I'm constantly complaining about how I wish I had a whisk that would fit down in there to mix some stuff, tiny stuff with.
So you specifically asked for a small whisk?
Yeah, I really wanted a tiny whisk.
For what reason?
To whisk things in a tiny fashion.
I mean, is that genuinely what are you planning on whisking that's that tiny?
A small whisk is better for eggs, especially if you're only making a couple of eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Hamburger Helper sometimes has... What? Hamburger Helper?
No, just the justification of needing a tiny whisk.
Hamburger Helper sometimes has a little topping that you have to mix with like a couple of tablespoons of milk.
Mm-hmm.
And
you just throw all that into the Hamburger Helper.
No.
You don't mix the topping. You're talking like the little powdery stuff. You dump that in.
No, you
chug some milk on top of there. Reverse chug, I guess, because you're not drinking it. And mix it all together.
Nah, man. You gotta make the topping separate. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's really good for mixing that, because otherwise you use a fork and it doesn't get as integrated.
I use a spoon when I whisk eggs. Am I just doing something wrong?
Well, yeah, you're not getting nearly as much air in there to make them fluffy.
I don't know. So anyway, your stocking.
So anyway, my stocking was pretty cool.
Yeah.
In Ginger's, I had got her magic cards that I'd ordered. So I put them in there. And I got her a spatula. A silicone spatula with a better handle. And that was all that was in my stocking for her, because I apparently don't understand the concept of a stocking being a place where you just throw a bunch of odds and ends junk.
Yeah, a stocking is typically, you put little cheapo presents in there, but you put a lot of them.
Right.
So it's like, oh, hey, cool candy and a pair of socks or whatever else.
Yeah. So that idea apparently just escapes me completely.
See, I didn't see your stockings, but I'm just picturing from this description, you have like this overflowing bounty out of your stocking, like a felt cornucopia.
Yeah.
And then Ginger's stocking is like the most sickly looking... Because the magic cards you're not even going to notice in there.
Right.
They're so thin and small plastic. So she gets her stocking and there's just, as far as she can see, a spatula sticking out of it.
Yeah. Oh, it was small enough that the spatula was inside it. So it just basically looked
like an empty stocking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm a failure, but that's okay. But she got me a lot of new t-shirts, the one that I'm wearing right now.
That's pretty cool.
It's a bastard sword with a D20 on the pommel and a beholder etched into
Oh, yeah, is that what that is?
Yeah, etched into the handguard.
I got...
It's pretty sweet. That's just one of them. She got me like 6 shirts.
Yeah, I've noticed you wearing new shirts. You typically have like 3 or 4 shirts you wear on rotation.
Yeah. I have more shirts than I take a shower to use.
And you have your weekly shower.
Yeah.
I got a couple cool shirts. A pair of Doc Martens from my girlfriend. Some other stuff I don't really remember. That was a good Christmas, though.
Yeah. So now that the holidays are over, I guess we can talk about a new year and how exciting this is going to be.
Are you not excited for the new year?
It seems like the older I get, the more I'm just like, eh.
You're just waiting for death.
Just waiting for
death. Just 1 step closer to the grave.
Yeah, it really is.
Hey! Episode 7 comes out December of next year.
There you go.
That's cool.
That's a whole year away, though.
Yeah, well, it's a reason to keep living for another 12 months. Then after that, you can kind of, depending on how good the movie is, you can kind of decide whether it's time to go or not.
Right, yeah. If you notice, I think the holidays both drained us.
It wasn't really the holidays. I think I'm just getting sick. So if you notice that I sound a little deeper and sexier than I typically do, you can thank influenza for that.
Don't you dare say that in this house. That is not something I want.
So
apparently there's some I think the CDC has actually elevated the influenza of this year to an epidemic status. I just saw that. So that's fun.
I feel like I have a pretty strong immune system. I don't wash my hands every time I go to the bathroom.
The flu doesn't give a shit.
The flu doesn't give a shit about getting you sick. I just feel like I have a strong immune system to fight it back.
Yeah.
I feel like if my immune system were to manifest itself here, it would be in a full set of armor.
Yeah.
Shiny and ready to go.
The only time I ever get sick is usually because of my allergies, if I'm not keeping my allergies in check, and then I get a sinus infection. And that's all I ever get. So, there's that. Pretty happy.
Have you ever thought about removing your nose?
I've thought about maybe cauterizing my entire nasal cavities. That would be cool. Just a hot poker right up the nose.
You could probably snort your
Antihistamine?
antihistamines, yeah.
See, that strikes me as it's a 24-hour pill.
Yeah.
No, that would be a terrible idea. Probably have a heart attack.
Yeah, probably. I'm not advocating snorting antihistamines.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea. Although I have been known to take more than one on occasion, which you're not supposed
Well,
to.
you live life on the edge, man.
I do.
You're just driving down the interstate on your motorcycle, your leather jacket flapping behind you, and you're just popping more than one antihistamine.
Yeah.
You don't give a damn who knows it. Got a loose woman on the back of that motorcycle telling you to slow down.
Shut up, bitch.
You're not going to slow down.
Nope. Well, she's in the bitch seat. You know, that's what they call it.
Does your voice change when you're on a motorcycle?
Well, of course
you suddenly
it does.
talk like this?
Yeah, you can't sound like this on a motorcycle.
Excuse me, bitch. Would you mind quieting down?
Please, bitch. Would you just simmer down back there?
But you still call her bitch.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what you call a motorcycle bitch.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm not familiar with motorcycle culture, really.
I don't know, neither am I. I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get beat up by Hell's Angels.
Don't say that. You're going to get beat up by female Hells Angels.
Yeah, that would be much more likely. And there wouldn't be anything we could do about it. Because those bitches are hard.
I would have absolutely no shame in telling people I was beaten up by female Hells Angels. Like, when you told the story, like, if you're out somewhere and a woman were to just, like, punch you in the face, I think a lot of guys would be kind of loath to mention the part that it was just a woman who punched you in the face.
Yeah.
But I think if it's a female Hells Angel, you're like, fuck yeah, it was a female Hells Angel.
Yeah. She fucking broke a beer bottle and tried to cut me.
Hopefully we don't offend any of the Hells Angels that listen to this podcast.
So let's do a quick recap of our year-in review.
Well, do you want to do that and I'll talk about
that's
this
right.
book I've been reading?
You wanted to do that. Yeah, you
Trying
did.
to fucking step on
I'm
my
sorry.
shit.
I forgot.
I have notes.
Yeah,
I have
notes
a
too, but
piece of notebook paper with 5 things written on it.
You do.
And if you don't respect this, then we're living in a goddamn anarchy. And my grandpa didn't fight Nazis in World War II, so a fat guy in a broadsword t-shirt can tell me when I talk about the books I've been reading, Remington.
Well, I mean, we know this isn't an anarchy because I can't go into a
deli and urinate on the cheese.
Deli and urinate on the cheese.
Thank you, the Vandals. All right, so I want to talk about this book I've been reading.
Yes, go ahead.
Or this series of books.
Okay.
The author's name is Robert Bevan.
Okay.
And these are his first series of novels.
All right.
And I found them randomly while I was looking around on the Kindle Unlimited books to
Yeah.
try to find something like fantasy-oriented to read. Because I've been started to run a D&D campaign with you and your girlfriend, a couple other, Resident Stoner John, and another guy who I don't appreciate enough to say his name on the podcast. I mean, he says he listens to the podcast, and then he said, hey, you guys should talk about World of Warcraft. And do you remember this conversation?
Yeah,
and we said, yeah, we did like 2 episodes devoted to it like a month ago. And he was like, oh, I guess I haven't caught up yet.
Yeah.
So, fuck him. So I was looking for fantasy novels to kind of get ideas and just get myself more in the mindset as I was writing them.
Right.
So I stumbled upon these, and the books are called Critical Failures 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And it's a series called Caverns and Creatures, which, you know, clearly is a D&D reference.
Yeah.
And the idea of the story, and it's neat because I've never really seen this in a fantasy book before.
Yeah.
The idea is it starts off with 4 guys, Tim, Dave, Julian, and Cooper. And they're like 4, I don't know exact ages, I think they're between mid-20s and early 30s guys.
Okay.
And Tim owns a chicken shack, like a fast food kind of chicken place. And the book starts with them locking up for the night because they're going to play Caverns and Creatures.
Okay.
And Tim is kind of like the responsible one. Cooper's like the loud, drunk, assholey guy, you know?
Right.
The kind of guy that we've played D&D with before who's always like, can I fuck the guard? Like, when we were playing even last session, you guys went into the inn and it was a female barkeep and John was like, is she hot?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that kind of player. Julian is the new guy. This is the first time he's ever played Caverns and Creatures. And then Dave is one of their friends also who's played for a while.
Yeah.
So they've looked up on, it's kind of like this book's version of Craigslist, and found a guy who's advertising that he'll run games.
Okay.
So he shows up, and this guy calls himself Mordred. And he shows up, and he's like a real fat guy in like a wizard's cloak, and comes in and is very much like, "Silence, you fools! We sit and we play the game of caverns." Like that.
Yeah.
So he sits down to start them playing.
The dreaded DM.
Yeah, he's the most stereotypical version of what somebody who doesn't play Dungeons and Dragons would view as a person who plays Dungeons and Dragons. Somebody who takes the game way too seriously.
Right.
So they sit down to play, and they're all making fun of him. They're all kind of making fun of his, like, cloak and what he looks like as they sit down, and he's getting more and more angry as they play.
Yeah.
So they get to this point where they're about to enter a town, and a guard stops them, and the character of Cooper is playing a half-orc. So the guard says, "Hey, you can't bring half-orcs in here. They're kind of viewed as a lower race in this world."
All right.
So Cooper, as those kind of players are wont to do, says, "I'm not going to stand for that. I attack the guard." And he rolls a crit, and he chops the guard's head off.
Okay.
So they're all laughing about it, and the guards from the town are chasing them. At this point, the players in real life stop the game and are like, "Hey, we're going to go get some beer and cigarettes." So they leave, which obviously pisses off the DM.
Yeah.
Even as what I would consider a less nerdy DM myself, that kind of stuff would piss me off too. Of like, "Are you kidding me? We're just set up in the middle of this."
Yeah.
So they leave, get beer, come back, and the players who stayed have just been mocking this guy mercilessly.
Okay.
So they sit down to play the game, and he reaches into like a black bag of dice that he has and pulls out these black dice and gives them to them to roll. And as they roll, they all disappear. And this is within the first like 20 pages maybe of the book. They all disappear, and what these magical dice do is transport them into the world of Caverns and Creatures that they were playing. So they're now their characters.
Right.
So then the entire series runs through where they're these humans who are now playing as their characters in this world, and they have to find a way to get out.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of them, and then he's written, I think, like 10 short stories that are kind of like little one-off adventures of things they do in this world to try to make money.
Yeah.
So, like, Cooper the obnoxious guy playing a half-orc is a half-orc in this world. And then Tim is a halfling, Dave is a dwarf, and Julian is an elf. And they're trying to learn what spells are and what their abilities are, and there's constant, like... It's anachronism, right? Whenever you're referring to something that's out of time. Like if you see a movie about medieval times and one of the characters is like, "I wish I had an iPod," I think that's an anachronism.
Sounds good to me. That's a word that I don't think I've ever heard anybody use.
Really?
So, yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of follows them, and they have the mentalities of people now, but set in this fantasy world.
Right.
And the DM is talking to them through the severed head of the guard they killed.
Okay.
And they're thrown into the world right as the guards are chasing them for murdering another guard.
Yeah.
So, like, again, going back to Cooper, for example, he's a half-orc. He's a half-orc barbarian. Barbarians in Dungeons & Dragons are illiterate.
Yes.
So there's a lot of jokes where he can't read.
Yeah.
He has, like, a charisma of 6, I think.
Okay.
6 or 7.
Uh-huh.
So he's just constantly shitting himself and just, like, picking his nose and farting, and he smells disgusting, and it's a constant source of jokes.
Uh-huh.
Tim, who in the real world isn't that particularly smart of a guy, has an intelligence, I think, of 17 in the game.
Okay.
So now suddenly he's really, really smart.
Yeah.
So it just kind of follows them. It's really good. I'd recommend them. Because Julian, as the new player, doesn't really know anything.
Right.
So that's kind of like our view into the world if you don't know Dungeons and Dragons. Particularly, he's kind of the audience character, at least that's how I take it, that gives a reason for the other characters to explain to him, like, "Oh, hey, that's a bugbear," or "That's an owlbear," or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you can find him on Kindle. You can look it up there. All his books on Kindle Unlimited, which means you can check them out and read them for free.
Okay.
Then you can buy the books in paperback through Amazon or buy them in digital copies if you want to support him.
Yeah.
But all of the books and all of the short stories are free to read, and then you can buy if you want to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying them. I mean, there's 3 of them. It goes through a whole big storyline with them being in the world and stuff. I'm not giving away any spoilers or anything, but yeah, they're a lot of fun. I went through them, through the 3 main books. I read 1 a night, and then I read 2 short stories a night, and I've just finished up all of them. So he's working on, I think he's doing 5 more from what he has released now, 5 more short stories, and then he's going to start work on the 4th full book. So you can look at him through Amazon, through Kindle Unlimited. You can also go to his Facebook page, which is Robert Bevan, Bevan, through there, or you can go to cavernsandcreatures.com and read what he's doing there.
That actually sounds really cool. I haven't read, I mean, we've talked in the past about how I don't read a whole lot, but that sounds like something I might want to pick up.
Yeah, I honestly think you should check it out. Because, I mean, I like fantasy books, and I can get into a good series of fantasy books. The problem with them sometimes for me is they're just so heavy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm in a mood to read fantasy, but not be just bombarded with like, this is, Timdor, son of Elendron, or whatever, Not even Tolkien level heavy, but just fantasy novels love their lore.
Yeah.
And these books definitely have a little bit of lore to them, but they're more just kind of focused on these guys just bumbling their way through whatever the next thing is they have to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I honestly think it would be something that you would enjoy.
Yeah, probably, especially if it's kind of lighthearted like that.
Yeah, it's really lighthearted. At one point, they find other people who have also been trapped in this game. So there's other human players that have been trapped here who kind of run a guild,
cool. Yeah.
And they start working through the guild. And I think that's towards the end of the first book. So then obviously there's other stuff that happens, but yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that sounds really cool.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
So when did have you just really been hardcore reading it straight up? Like, when did you find this series?
I found this series about a week ago.
Okay, so you've really just pile-driven through it then?
Yeah, whenever I lay down at night, I'll read on the Kindle, and I read a book a night, and then 2 short stories a night. So, maybe a little over a week or so, but once it got towards the end, I read 1 short story a night so I can make them last a little longer so I could read one before bed, but yeah. I finished up reading them now, unfortunately. But looking at the releases of the short stories, it seems like he releases one every 2 or 3 months, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's probably another 2 to 3 months. I don't know when the next one will be released, but it seems like he releases them pretty consistently, too.
I wonder if he's running a campaign himself and is, getting more ideas off of it.
Well, I was reading his bio, and it says that he plays 3rd edition.
Uh-huh.
And then I also was reading, some of the Amazon reviews, and people were commenting, and on one of them he replied, and this was maybe half a year ago, he said that he'd just gotten back to playing D&D after a 3-year absence.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think, it reads like the characters are probably people that he knew or characters that he's run.
Yeah.
Because if you've played D&D for any appreciable amount of time, you have all these stories of characters doing dumb shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So it seems like it's based a lot off of that, and then kind of goes into the stereotypical asshole player.
Right. I was recapping some of our tales, and I don't have a very good memory. So some of these are better told by you, but I was recapping them to Tyson, who also plays, and he was going through some crazy, from where he was running stuff. They play Gestalt. Do you know what Gestalt is?
I have no idea.
Gestalt is where you have 2 classes, so when you're leveling, you take both classes.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
And you take the best ability or upgrade of the 2.
See, I've always heard that you would use that either in a super high-powered campaign,
yeah,
or if you don't have enough people to get your typical 4-member party,
right,
you only have 2 people, they each take 2 classes, so you still kind of have, your fighter, your wizard, your cleric, and your rogue.
Yeah. So, well, they apparently play a fair amount of Gestalt, and honestly, it seems very confusing.
Is that a game type, or is that its own game?
I think it's a game type.
So he's still playing D&D, it's just Gestalt.
Gestalt. So he's telling me some crazy stories especially about some magic weapons and stuff that people have kind of cobbled together. And they use the rules really well, way better than any of us have ever done, because it's just not something we focus on.
Yeah.
It seems like we're more entrenched in just the battle and the story of it, instead of cobbling together different spells and putting them onto a magic item. And he was telling me about one staff where a guy had, instead of imbuing it with a spell, he imbued it with a feat.
Oh, that's cool.
But there's really nothing, he explained it in a fashion that Tyson couldn't argue it. And he asked me, he was like, how would you deal with this? Because he had imbued it with an empowered spell. And his argument is that he had been doing an empowered spell for 100 years. He was playing an elf, and he had had this empowered spell for a really long time. So the idea was that instead of taking the spell and imbuing it, he imbued the actual feat. He said that he discovered the algorithm of how to empower a spell, and he had inscribed that onto the staff to where the last little bit of the spell could be any spell, which...
So what the staff did was allowed the user to empower a spell?
Empower any spell through it.
It didn't hold a spell in particular, it just held the empower spell feat.
Right. So the idea is that he was casting whatever spell he wanted at his normal spell level, but it was being empowered via the staff, which just makes it completely ridiculously broken.
Was the staff did it have charges, did he say? Or was it just you hold it and it works?
Yeah, I don't think he said that it had charges. It may have, but even still, a staff has, I think, 50 charges. That's a lot of freaking empowered spells. So my only answer to that was, if he was just using one empowered spell for that long, the only spell that he would actually know how to empower and imbue onto that staff would be that particular spell. If every feat that he took, because with a lot of those metamagic feats, you have to pick a specific spell, and that's the only one you can empower.
Is that how empower spell works?
Well, that's how a lot of those metamagic feats work.
Okay.
Aside from like eschew materials or, stuff like that. So it's supposed to be on a specific spell. So my answer was, well, his feats, if each feat he took a separate empower spell, then maybe he might be able to figure out the algorithm.
Then it would work for each of them.
Yeah. But to that end, you still really can't imbue a feat that I know of onto an item. It's just a spell.
Well, that's the thing with D&D rules that's good and bad, though, is it's so up in the air. Like, if you look at, what's the feat? Craft Wondrous Item. I think that's one of the highest crafts you can get.
Yeah.
It gives you nothing. It's just like, you can craft a Wondrous Item.
Yeah.
And then there's Wondrous Items in the DM's guide that you can use the translation or whatever to figure out how to craft. But all it says is craft Wondrous Item.
Yeah.
So if he had that feat, I would probably say, okay, you can do it. It's going to cost this much and this much.
Right.
And then I'm all for players, telling me backstory and creating flavor to it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But if it was something I had a problem with, and that seems right on the edge. That seems like something at first I would say, I mean, if you had everything to do it, sure, we'll try it out. And then if it became overly powerful, I would probably have to have a talk with the guy and say, we need to come to some sort of arrangement because this is just totally breaking the game past what I can do.
Yeah. And that's just it. I mean, a lot of things are DM's discretion. And there are some points where somebody has such a good argument that you don't really have a reason from the rules to tell them no. And that's when you just say, well, I'm the DM, and I don't mean to shit on your thunder here, but it's really awesome. I concede that to you. I don't have an argument for it, but it's going to break my game, so let's scale it down a bit.
Yeah.
So even if you can't find a counter to the argument to have it in game, sometimes you just have to dumb shit down just for the sake of keeping balance.
Yeah, that's the thing about being the DM, though, is you control the story. You can just say, like, yeah, didn't work that time. That may not be the best way to deal with it.
Yeah,
that's probably going to end up...
magic doesn't work this way in this
it might end up with a pissed off player sometimes. Yeah. But if that person is interested in playing in your game, there's a sort of like unspoken bond between players and a DM.
Yeah.
Where it's as a DM, I say, I'm going to do an awesome story for you guys. And I'm going to let you guys kind of do what you want within reason. And the players then say, okay, that's cool. And we'll do our best to respect what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they're going to go along with like, oh, hey, this guard lost his kitten and wants us to find it. That doesn't mean that you expect them to do that.
Right.
But that means that most of the time they're not going to stab the guard in the throat and then go find his kitten to have sex with.
Right, yeah.
And if they do...
Why are cats so... I don't mean to interrupt, but there was a lot of talk last night in guild chat about doing terrible things to cats.
I think you just surround yourself with a very specific kind of friend.
I guess so. Who want to destroy cats. They either love cats or want to destroy
Well,
cats.
I think making jokes about cats is like the whole thing with how... Remember when we were in junior high and high school, dead baby jokes were everywhere?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's just kind of like that you find the most innocent thing you can and then make really vulgar jokes because it's easy shock humor, you know? That's why I said have sex with the cat instead of fuck the cat.
Right, right. So, sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off your train there.
That's fine. That's all I'm pretty much trying to say is, to me, I would probably have to see that in action. Just like in the campaign I'm running now, with the player who shall not be named, wanted to play Batman.
Yes.
He said, I want to be Batman. What do I have to do to be Batman?
Right.
So we went rogue. They're all 3rd level, so you can't be a super great Batman at 3rd level anyway. But he was asking me, can I have this, can I have this, can I have this? And was naming a bunch of, like, Batman things.
Yeah.
And I gave him concessions on a lot of it. And then as the game started, like, we had an encounter Sunday when we played, and he pulled out, I'm going to use my smoke bomb, which I'd totally forgotten I gave him.
Yeah.
And he used it, and right when he used it, I was like, oh shit, that's not great. Like, that can really screw up the game. So then I kind of on the fly made rules of like, okay, it lasts for 1 round, it does this, then it dissipates kind of thing.
Which was all correct anyway.
Yeah, it was all correct.
As I was looking it up.
And I could tell he was a little bummed because he was expecting to be Batman. Just like at the end of the campaign, he'd got affected by a spell and was effectively put out of combat for the whole game. And we had like a not real, but a semi-joking, but also sort of real argument where he was saying, well, I'm Batman.
Right.
How would that happen to me? And I had to tell him like, yeah, but you're Batman. You're like 3rd level Batman. You're Batman who trips over his shoelaces sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be 3rd level and just be Batman swooping around and sneaking up on the Joker.
Yeah.
It's just not built into the rules to do that.
Exactly. Because Batman himself is probably a level 20 character, easy.
Maybe, I don't know about level 20.
Maybe 16, 18.
If you're going by D&D rules, level 21 is like epic. Like level 21 is like close to ascending to godhood.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to get up into the 40s for that.
Well, some of the minor deities are like 28, 29th level.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But I don't know, we could discuss the
hypothetical
level of Batman all day.
Oh, he got hit with Tasha's hideous laughter, and that was the best. Please retell the joke that you told.
So they're fighting, they go into town, I'll make this quick, because I know D&D stories can be sometimes long-winded. They go into this town, there's bandits there, the bandits aren't hurting anybody, but the bandits have kind of taken over the town.
Right.
So they go in, and they're helping the mayor with something, and the mayor says, I'll give you what you want, you just need to get rid of these bandits.
Yeah.
So the lead bandit, who they've heard about, comes out into the street, and he's kind of a very, like, flamboyantly proper, very rich upbringing, clearly, from how he acts.
Yeah.
So our Batman character has perched himself up on the roof because he accidentally lit the mayor's house on fire months earlier while trying to Batman things.
Right.
He was Batmaning around and lit stuff on fire. He drops a smoke bomb right when combat starts and tries to sneak up behind the main bandit and put a knife to his throat.
Oh, it was a flashbang.
Was it a flashbang?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he has flashbangs too.
Yeah.
So, he lands his tumble check to get off the roof of the building, goes to sneak up behind the guy, which provokes attacks of opportunity.
Yeah.
So he gets hit, but I rule that he kind of manages to roll past him, but he misses hitting the guy. He's trying to take like 8 actions in 1 round.
Right.
So I'm trying to like, you moved already, you can move behind him to try to grapple him. I'll allow that, even though at that point the rules really didn't. Because I feel like I try to be an accommodating DM.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's cool enough, I'll probably let you do it. As long as it's not like, I'm gonna, throw my sword from here and hit the queen. I'll still let you, but you're gonna get minuses. But I'll be like, yeah, if it hits, fucking awesome, you killed her.
Yeah.
So, he fails, and the head bandit, who is a bard, casts Tasha's Hideous Laughter on him, which is a spell that you say something, magical words, and if they fail their saving throw, they collapse on the ground laughing.
Right.
So, the bandit tells him the joke. It was so stupid. Why don't dragons go on diets? Because they're surrounded by too many scales. The dumbest joke in the world. It was off the top of my head, the dumbest thing.
So good.
But then the character failed his will save and collapsed, and I got the highest amount of rounds that he would be just totally prone laughing on the ground.
Yeah.
He was so pissed, too. He was like, overly pissed. I was like, sorry, dude, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But he had also been having like a rash of bad rolls the entire night.
Yeah.
He got more critical ones in that night than I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. It was still good. Such a bad joke, but so good. You thought of that one off the top of your head?
Oh yeah, I didn't have it written down. I'd forgotten, because I made the Bard's character sheet right before I came over.
Right.
And I specifically gave him the most annoying, like, days and flared lights or whatever, just the shit that'll distract people so he could get away.
Yeah.
And then he was at level 3, but I moved him up to level 4 to make him a little tougher.
Yeah.
And he got 1 second level spell, and I was like, I've never used Tasha's Hideous Laughter before. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So as soon as Batman was close, I decided to try to use it, and it came about all perfectly. That he rolled such, because the will save was like 12 or 14 or something stupid, and he rolled an 8, I think, total.
It was so good. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and move on to our year-end review. This year, as far as like stuff that I've done, that's been a pretty easy year. We bought a house, and that's been an exciting endeavor.
Yeah, that's a pretty major thing.
Yeah, the first major purchase ever, other than like cars and stuff. So yeah, it's a little daunting, looking at the bills and being like, oh, are we really going to be able to survive this month, sort of deals. But we're doing fine.
Well, you have all these residuals rolling in from this podcast.
Yeah. So the podcast has been going on for over a year now. Since then, we've branched out into Twitch and YouTube, doing a gaming channel, which started earlier this year. And that's been a lot of fun. Whenever we can get it right.
I think the gaming channel is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still definitely not really anywhere as far as like viewers and stuff go.
Yeah.
And of course, that'll be nice. And in the next year, to get more listeners on the podcast or more viewers on the YouTube channel would be great.
Right.
But with the podcast as we go forward, I always strive to, let's bring the best content we can and let's get more listeners.
Yeah.
With the YouTube channel, I try the same thing, but I'm not disappointed at all when I upload a video and see like the views on our last video and it's nothing.
Yeah.
Not 0, but it's very low.
Right.
Just because it's fun, We're sitting around. For being on video, once I got over the first like 1 or 2 videos, knowing that there's a camera on me and got used to it, it doesn't bother me at all. And it's just so much fun to sit there and kind of shoot the shit with your friends playing old Super Nintendo games.
Yeah. So that endeavor has been a lot of fun. I'm hoping over this next year we can grow a little bit better, a little bit faster. In the works for next year, we'll probably do some things like a Patreon campaign, which we've talked about a little bit in the past, but we kind of kept it under wraps because we haven't moved forward with it a whole lot.
Yeah, I think for me anyway, it's kind of in stasis.
Yeah, but I plan on working on that here real soon, and forgetting to turn off my tablet.
Oh my god, Remington.
I plan on working on that real soon, so hopefully...
Learning how to turn off your tablet?
Yeah.
Doing that real soon?
Anybody who listens will be able to basically make their own subscription. Mm-hmm. Is basically how Patreon works. You pay a little bit extra a month.
Yeah, Patreon, if you're not familiar with what Patreon is.
Yeah, thank you. I'm struggling.
It's a website where you can go through, and we would set up a Patreon. And this is further down the road. And what a Patreon is you would go to the Dueling OGRES Patreon page. And you set a limit if you want to donate money to kind of help us out with equipment costs.
Stuff to help us grow.
Stuff to help us grow, just even the little stuff, the amount out of pocket that we pay every month for Libsyn, where we have stuff hosted, all that kind of crap.
Right.
And it's all optional. And you go in and you can say, I want to donate $1 for every episode they release. $1 will be taken out of my PayPal account and go to theirs.
Yeah.
So every episode we release, $1 comes to us. And $1 is such a small amount, but of course any little amount helps, Exactly. Getting any sort of money is good.
Yeah.
And then you can set, I want to do $5 an episode or $10 an episode. All of that, more than likely isn't going to happen. But you can also say, okay, I want to do $1 an episode, but I don't want to donate more than $2 a month.
Right.
So you set your own cap. So say we do 4 episodes in a month, your $1's going to get taken out for the first 2, and then the next 2 isn't.
And then there's extra perks that you can get along. It's kind of like an ongoing Kickstarter.
Yeah, so then we would set up tiers. And we have some ideas, but we don't really know yet, where we would set up tiers of say, okay, if you donate $1 an episode, then you have access to this extra stuff.
Right.
The podcast itself, whenever we do set up the Patreon, the podcast will always be free, always free to listen to on Libsyn or on iTunes or on Stitcher.
Or wherever else it's available.
Yeah, the money is just, besides helping us, the money is kind of access to extra stuff that we haven't released. What example, like show notes or outtake stuff, shout outs. I mean, we have a bunch of shit we're still working on. We don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is all in the future, but this is something we're working on. But there's definitely a stress on the fact that the podcast, as it is now and what you're hearing, is never going to be behind a paywall. It's not going to be like, oh, this person, you don't donate, so you can't listen.
Right, yeah. Definitely the case. So then on top of that, I've got some other things like, maybe we can do a t-shirt run, which would be really fun.
That would be cool. Super limited run, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You've got your nude calendar you're working on.
Yeah,
I saw March. That one was really good.
Thanks.
I especially
really
thought, I don't remember
what
what month it is, but your tastefully done nude Arbor Day spread was really good.
Yeah, and it isn't even for Arbor Day, though. It's an Arbor Day spread, but it doesn't take place on Arbor Day.
Yeah, that was your July one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Wearing the Uncle Sam hat and a strategically placed fern.
Yeah.
You definitely want to avoid his spread for Palm Sunday.
Really? I thought that was really good, though.
The Palm Sunday?
Yeah.
Well, I did like how you did a play on words with palm, but a little more explicit than I would have preferred.
So, other than buying the house and helping to grow our little media company, as it were, Warlords came out after, 2 years of playing Miss Pandaria. Hearthstone continues to grow, and that's, as far as that goes, that's about all that I had for my year. I mean, I can't remember. There was a lot of sad things that happened this year, too.
Yeah.
But I will not dwell on these.
Well, I think buying a house for you was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can listen to past episodes leading up to when you bought the house, and you can even hear when we talked about it a little bit of nervousness.
Yeah.
As you go. I don't remember if that episode's released or not, where we talk about the house appraiser, right? Or who was it? There's two people you had to come in to look at the house before you could buy it.
Yeah, there's the appraiser and the inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our whole thing about them and how they worked in tandem, or whether they were like two warring factions.
Yeah, yeah. So how about you? What about your year?
My year's been more about a lot of, I think, personal growth for me.
Yeah.
I've lived in the apartment the same time, but getting back into working again, I've been going and, been on medication for like 6 months now, and that's really helped me, like, it's so cheesy to say, but like really helped me to get a different view on life. I've talked about that enough already, but that's helped. And that's been a big part of my year, really. It's just going from where I was at the beginning of the year to almost the completely different person I am now.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty confident about next year. I don't know how far I'll go, but I'm looking at getting back into school, and I've got stuff working out for myself too.
Yeah. So
that's been a big part of my year. I finally got to play through the DLC for Fallout New Vegas, so
yeah.
That was a pretty big part of my year.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of personal growth on your end and a lot of scary big purchases on mine.
Yeah, seriously.
So, I'd say all in all, it's been a pretty good year.
Yeah, I think we're both looking forward to the same sort of things in 2015.
Yeah.
Just, growth of the podcast and video channel and your nude spread specifically, I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Because
I've seen the mock-ups, but the mock-ups are mostly just you standing naked in your living room and yelling, "Look at me."
So what do you have for New Year's stuff?
I just have some New Year's facts. I try not to get, because normally with the holiday episodes, I'll get real in depth about the history and all that.
Yeah.
But those podcasts always fuck up.
Yeah.
So I kept it to a very bare minimum. I don't have anything about the history of New Year's.
So this is where the podcast breaks.
Yeah, this is where it explodes.
Good.
So I just have some random facts here. About 1 million people gather in Times Square New Year's Eve. 2,000 pounds of confetti are dropped at midnight.
Wow.
On the gatherers.
It's a good thing it's confetti, otherwise that might hurt. That's a ton of confetti. 2,000 pounds?
Oh, yeah, it is.
That is 1 ton of confetti.
Well, they're not dropping it, like, on one person. It's over the spread.
That'd be messed up, man.
Wouldn't that be weird if that was one of our traditions, is just gather in Times Square, there's about 1 million people,
and you pick
one of
person.
you is gonna die. And is it gonna be you this year? There's 1 million people, your chances are good. It's a 1 in a million shot, but everybody goes in there thinking it's not gonna be them. And one person is murdered with confetti. The cleanup on Times Square starts right after the ball drops and people start dispersing. Sanitation crews clean up roughly 50 tons of trash.
Wow.
Takes about 48 hours. And this year they will have 151 sanitation workers, 24 supervisors, 2 superintendents, and 2 deputy chiefs.
That seems like an extraordinarily
Small amount? Yeah, I know. I read that too.
Yeah.
Or I thought that too. 37 leaf blowers they use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes them 48 hours.
Wow.
It does seem like it would take more. But then you think about it. 151 sanitation workers.
Yeah.
Like, what would that be the equivalent to? If you were to picture 151 people in a room.
I don't know. A large warehouse, I guess. I
thought that'd be more interesting. Okay, we're
Yeah, sorry. Just, you're making me...
You really dropped the ball on that one. Speaking of dropping balls, the Times Square ball has 2,688 crystals.
Okay.
32,256 LEDs that light it.
Mm-hmm.
And it weighs 11,875 pounds.
Wow.
And the origin of the falling ball comes from England's Royal Observatory at Greenwich in 1833.
Okay.
It would drop at 1 o'clock every afternoon to help captains set their chronometers. So I guess...
So another seafaring time thing.
Wherever you are around this area, you see the ball, and when you watch it drop, you're like, oh, it's 1 o'clock. Or, oh, it's 1 o'clock, but it set my chronometer.
Yeah.
Also good for time travelers.
Yeah.
Chronometer.
Chronometer.
I'm not sure what a chronometer is. Is that like a fancy way to say watch?
Sure.
Time meter. That'd be chronometer, right? So yeah, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Let me say that without slurring. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Hold on.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions? New Year's resolutions? I'm just going to keep saying it in this voice.
Yeah, it's basically more high-tech watch.
Well, it's British, so it makes sense that they would call it the chronometer.
Yeah.
Excuse me, chap, do you have the chronom? That's how they say time.
Yeah. An instrument for measuring time, especially one designed to keep accurate time in spite of motion or variations in temperature, humidity, and air pressure. Chronometers were first developed for marine navigation, being used in conjunction with astronomical observation to determine longitude. There you go.
And speaking of astronomical observation, as the perfect segue because we're the best podcast in the world,
right?
The CIA recently came out and said that, hey, all those UFO sightings that have been reported in the 1950s and 60s, about half of them were experimental spy planes we were trying. They released a close to 300-page report, heavily redacted, of course.
Of course.
Showing all the times they've tested this experimental aircraft and how they coincide.
Huh. It took them that long to figure out a way to debunk some of this stuff?
Well, there's the Freedom of Information Act.
Right, yeah.
But there's a time limit on that of like 60 or 70 years.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
And it is interesting also that they said about half of those.
Yeah. So the rest of them, all aliens.
All aliens.
50% of the time, it's aliens every time.
And then I had some other stuff, but I don't really care to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
So do you have any resolutions?
The only resolutions I have would be for the podcast to, continue to grow and the gaming channel to continue to grow and make a lot more connections. I think that's the big thing. We'll be making more connections throughout the year.
Spread out our greasy tendrils through the internet.
Our filthy little binary tentacles weaving their way into...
Our filthy little binary tentacles.
All aspects of the interwebs. Yeah. That's for that. I'd like to see a lot more growth this year. And as to personal ones, we'll see where it takes me, but I have kind of entertained the thought of maybe going to school for audio stuff or video stuff maybe. It's fairly unlikely, but I mean, I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't necessarily have to go back. Like, is your goal in wanting to do it to go to get a degree, or is it just to go to learn more, or both?
I think learning more is the more appropriate thing. I don't think if you're going... There's two kinds of people, it seems like. The people who just want to learn stuff, and the people who want to get a degree so that they have a better job, sort of deals. And if those two things coincide with each other, then you're going to have a really good time.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily wanting to go for a degree to get, to go work at a radio station or work for television shows or something like that. I just enjoy doing it. There's a lot of things involved in it that I'd like to learn more about. So,
Well, and you can always just take classes for that.
Yeah.
Not even going towards a degree, but just take classes. I mean, there's all kinds of online courses you can take for free.
yeah.
That kind of stuff. I'm signed up for one next month where I'm going to learn Korean.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know if I'll actually learn Korean. Probably not, but it'd be interesting to... I read an article somebody on my Facebook posted today that was like 20 things that all successful people do.
Okay.
And one of them was invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Which I immediately read it and just wanted to throw up in my mouth. Because that's like those stupid buzzwords of like, oh, invest in yourself. But what it said was make a lot of sense. The article was a guy who had worked as an aide for Oprah Winfrey and somebody whose last name's Enver. I don't know who it is, but he's apparently a billionaire.
Okay.
And he said that's one of the things he noticed that both of his super rich bosses did was always invest in themselves, meaning learning a new language or learning a new skill, like always bettering yourself to be more marketable, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'd like to work on. I've always wanted to learn another language. I mean, I can speak the barest minimum of Spanish, enough to ask where the bathroom is and tell them in Spanish that I don't speak Spanish.
Right, yeah.
That's really all I know. So I'd like to learn another language.
Yeah, I've always had a fascination with languages, and I know snippets of a lot of different ones, but I've never sat down and really dove into one. And especially with learning a language, immersion is extremely important.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of one of my fallbacks,
Thing that's kept you from doing it.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot that you can immerse yourself in around here, it seems like.
And really, if I'm trying to learn something, I should learn Spanish, because half of my family speaks Spanish.
That's true.
So I would be able to have full conversations in Spanish with, 3/4 of my siblings.
Right.
But I think it's for that reason that I don't want to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
Because I've always kind of had that mentality of like, everybody knows Spanish, so I'm going to learn Korean or whatever,
Right. Well, I mean...
Kind of like that shitty attitude sometimes.
That being said, I mean, I do love all languages, so if we both want to sit down and practice Korean on each other...
Is that like a...
Yeah, that's a sexual
Okay,
thing.
I thought so.
Uh-huh. We can practice Korean on each other.
Practice
all day long.
Korean on each other?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to embargo you so hard. I'm going to give you a real hard propaganda.
So yeah, I'm definitely down for learning some languages, man.
I've got here a list of the top 10 New Year's resolutions for 2014.
Okay.
So this was compiled in 2013.
Okay.
What is your guess for top 3?
Losing weight's got to be on.
Losing weight?
Yeah.
Number 1 answer.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. That everybody wants to lose weight. America is the fattest country in the world, so...
I mean, we are the fattest country in the world. I don't know if statistically we're actually the fattest country in the world. I would bet we probably are close if we're not the number 1.
Yeah.
I'd like to lose weight. I'm not setting that as a New Year's resolution, but I would like to lose weight.
Yeah.
I say drinking my 3rd Mellow Yellow, but...
I'm the same way. Like, I'd sure like to lose weight. I was looking at some pictures that my sister had posted of us when we were younger, and I didn't realize I was as thin as I was, because, I mean, we always made fun of me being the fat kid.
Yeah.
But I only weighed like 230 pounds. So
Yeah, can I tell you...
You're almost up to my weight that I was in high school.
I had that revelation. I was looking at a picture of you from high school, and I was looking at you, and I was like, he really wasn't that fat.
Yeah.
And then I had this dawning realization where I was like, I'm like Remington size when he was in high school when we called him fat. Time makes fools of us all, I guess.
Indeed. Now I'm a little over 300 pounds, and I don't wear it like I am, but I feel it in the morning.
I bet. Dude, I want to get in shape, and I also, I'm starting to, hit that feeling of being old.
Yeah.
I've kind of had a fucked up knee for a while, my left knee.
Uh-huh.
For years now. It'll just get sore, because I kind of stand... I favor one leg when I stand, kind of hip cocked out like a sassy businesswoman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And God, this makes me sound like the oldest man in the world. I went to a Christmas skating party at my dad's work with my daughter, and I took her out. My daughter's 7, and I took her out skating. And I used to rollerblade and skate a lot. Well, the way I would skate, because I had to go really slow, because she was barely standing on her feet.
Uh-huh.
So you've been skating before, right?
Yeah, that's
more than once.
That's how I broke my leg.
Really?
That's the only time I've ever had a broken bone.
Well, when you skate sometimes, and instead of moving your feet forward, you can kind of just weave your knees in and out, and you kind of do a little concave motion.
Yeah. It's like
And
a sine wave.
You'll skate really slow.
Or not even a sine wave. Well,
I was doing that, and I must have aggravated my knee.
Uh-huh.
So now I sit cross-legged a lot, and if I get up the wrong way, my knee will lock up and then make like a really loud pop. And basically drop me to the floor. I was Christmas shopping a few days later, and I was looking for hats at the hat store.
Yeah.
And was crouched down looking at the very bottom rack, and I went to stand up, and I put the weight wrong on my knee.
Yeah.
And I collapsed and almost threw up in the store from the pain. Like, literally, like, was holding my stomach like, don't throw up, you're at a public place.
Mine, when I get particularly wore out, my knee will just not lock. So it'll just buckle under me, and I'll hit a knee. It doesn't hurt or anything, but it's just like, oh, you know, you have to catch yourself. And so that usually happens when I'm really tired.
Yeah. Well, you can just pretend you're genuflecting.
Yeah.
Whenever you hit a knee, just tell people that.
That's a good plan. What happened? Are you okay? Oh, I'm just genuflecting. It's fine.
Man, that is some genuflecting he's got going on there. But my main resolution, and this is stereotypical resolution, and this hits number 7 on top 10 New Year's resolutions, quit smoking.
Uh-huh.
I feel like shit. I smoke so much.
Yeah.
And part of it, I feel like goes back to, I've always smoked, and I mean, when we record this podcast, I'm pretty much chain smoking the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think part of it too is the medication I'm on. So the medication I'm on, one of it is for ADHD. And it definitely helps me focus a lot, but one of the side effects is I just fucking chain smoke.
Yeah.
Because I'll be focused on something, and I'm just smoking cigarette after cigarette, and before I realize I've smoked a pack a day.
Yeah.
And I never used to smoke that much. It'd be like a half a pack a day or something.
Yeah.
And I feel it when I wake up in the morning a lot. And this will be, I think, 9 years that I've been a smoker. And I'm past the point now where, especially now that I'm 30, smoking can have long-term effects on me. I'm past the point where it's just like, no, you smoked for 4 years and you quit smoking, your lungs will regenerate themselves, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
If I quit smoking, yeah, my lungs will regenerate themselves because your lungs, your body wants to do that. Your body wants to be as healthy as it possibly can.
Yeah.
But I've smoked long enough that it very well could have lasting effects for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary. And I want to minimize that. So I don't know how well I'm going to do with it, but I've kind of set the rule that I try not to smoke inside anymore.
Yeah.
And as it gets colder, it's going to make me want to step outside less.
Yeah.
But I don't smoke when the kids or anybody's in the house, just when it's my girlfriend and I there.
Yeah.
And then it's so much harder to go stand on the front porch to smoke a cigarette when I can sit cross-legged on the couch and smoke another cigarette while I'm playing Skyrim.
Right, yeah.
It's so much easier. Like laying in bed at night reading a book or watching something on Netflix and light up a cigarette or whatever.
There are times I don't smoke when I first wake up, and I don't smoke too long before I go to bed. But throughout the day, it's whenever I want. And getting colder, I have to go outside to smoke at work. So that puts some limitation on it as well, because you don't want to freeze your ass off while you're working. So that kind of dumbs it down a bit, but I mean, when we play D&D, when we do the podcast, when I'm playing WoW, which is the better part of my day, editing. Although I don't do as much smoking editing because I have to use both hands.
Yeah, I don't when I'm editing the videos. I mean, I'll smoke in between, I'll take breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I'm right in it trying to edit, I'm not smoking a cigarette because either I'm not editing because I have to smoke or the cigarette's just burning to nothing because I'm not hitting it. So.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and read through the rest of these real quick. I'll
Okay.
start with number 10. Number 10, spend more time with family.
Uh-huh.
Number 9, fall in love.
Oh.
8, help others in their dreams.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. 7, quit smoking. 6, learn something exciting.
Okay.
5, staying fit and healthy. 4, enjoy life to the fullest. Which just seems like the most bullshit New Year's resolution. I mean, are you fucking Scrooge from A Christmas Carol?
Yeah.
This year I'll enjoy life to the fullest.
This year I won't be a grumpy asshole. Good luck, America.
Number 3, spend less, save more. Number 2, getting organized. And number 1, lose weight.
Number 2 is getting organized.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already organized. I'm organized as fuck.
You are pretty organized.
Yeah. I have to have some OCD or something. Things have to be in places. And I have to know where those places are. At work specifically, there is a particular worker who will move stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
And I have it set in a particular place. And then when I go to look for it, it won't be there. And I'm just like, can you not just leave stuff where it is? Because I'm basically the one who set up the house. So, I mean, if it's where it's supposed to be, that's where it's supposed to be. Don't move it somewhere else. I don't care how much sense it makes to you.
That's my hardest part of living with a significant other.
Yeah.
Is I have a place for everything, and my place might be the living room floor where I put my shoes at the couch, but I know where the stuff is.
Right. We didn't really have that problem. When it came to setting up the kitchen, we had a long discussion about where things should go. And that was just really the most important part. Everything else was
a long discussion?
Yeah. There was discussion on where we should put the cups and the glass, or the bowls and plates and...
Was it a heated discussion?
No, it wasn't heated. It was just, very technical and reasons why we did things, why the silverware should be where it is, and where the junk drawer should be where it is, and...
Was this you guys discussing it, or was this you more taking a stand and saying, like, this is where the silverware's going, here's where the cups are going, here's where the bowls are?
No, because it's pretty important, especially in the kitchen. I mean, the kitchen is the meeting place of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fairly important for things to be where both people can agree that they should be.
Here's the big question. Do you have a specific place for your tiny whisk?
Yeah, we have a large...
Do you have a whisk drawer?
No, there's no whisk drawer. We don't have enough drawers for a whisk drawer. We do have several whisks, though. I think we're up to 5 now.
If I learn woodworking, can I make you a whisk cabinet?
Sure.
Or a whisk plaque
that's another thing
that you can hang whisks on?
That's actually another thing that I want to do this year, is get some more tools for woodworking. I've been watching, there is a series called Woodworking for Mere Mortals on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy is fairly enjoyable to watch. I mean, when you think of a woodworking video, you tend to think that it might be kind of boring to watch. It's like watching paint dry almost, but he is funny, makes a lot of jokes. He doesn't
Does he make a lot of wood-related jokes?
Sometimes. He doesn't apologize for mistakes that he makes. He's like, so I've changed the plan in here because I found out that this doesn't work at all, so there's that.
Is the film good quality?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been doing it for quite a long time.
Well, I would just have the fear that the film would be a little grainy.
Glad I set you up for that joke.
I nailed it, too.
Oh, God.
Percent of Americans who usually make New Year's resolutions, 45%.
Uh-huh.
Percent of people who are successful in achieving their New Year's resolution,
15%.
8%.
Oh, I was giving people more credit than credit was
the
due.
percent of people who have infrequent success, so sometimes they've met it, most of the time they don't, 49%.
Uh-huh.
Percent who never succeeded and fail on their resolution every year, 24%.
That seems oddly low.
Also, the percent of people in their 20s who achieve their resolution each year is 39%, and the percent of people over 50 who achieve their resolution every year. Any guesses?
No.
14%. Apparently, once you hit 50, you're just so ingrained in who you are that, fuck it.
Yeah. I'm just going to be who I'm going to be.
I'm always going to be a grumpy asshole. Who cares?
Yep. So that, I think, wraps up our New Year's episode.
Which they'll be listening to days after New Year's.
Yes.
So hopefully you had a good New Year's.
Yep, we hope you had a good New Year's. Hope you didn't get too drunk. That's one thing that we aren't going to be doing.
Were you ever a drinker on New Year's? I mean, you're not a drinker anyway. You've never been a drinker, really. Like, are you and Ginger, when she gets home tonight, are you guys going to have, like... Because I know she drinks, like, those frozen daiquiri things sometimes.
Right. Last year, I think we had a bottle of some sort of wine that she liked to have. We didn't get it this year, so I assume... She also has to work in the morning, so there's that as well. We might watch the ball drop, perhaps, or... In World of Warcraft, they set off fireworks at midnight in server, so, in Stormwind. I think we watched that last year.
Everything you tell me about you and Ginger
in World of Warcraft.
In World of Warcraft just warms my heart. That sounds sarcastic, but it is a little sarcastic, obviously, but in a way, it really does.
Yeah, we sat on a rooftop.
It's just cute. It's like you guys are going to sit and watch the fireworks.
Yeah.
Facing away from each other, looking at your own computers.
I don't know, I might roll over and, now that we're both in the same room, roll over and watch the fireworks like that, yeah.
You should play some, like, hot music while you're watching the fireworks, too.
Yeah. So but we've never, I think, like I said last year, we had some champagne or wine to drink.
Well, you guys have plenty of Diet Mountain Dew in there.
Yeah, we got that.
Crack some of that open.
Just get some hardcore whiskey and just blah, blah, blah.
So I think, whenever you're watching the fireworks, you should put on probably the most romantic thing I can think of.
Okay.
And that's the Dueling Ogres podcast. Our guarantee with this podcast is if you put it on and there's somebody in the room that you like, 100% you will get laid listening to this podcast with him in the room.
Yep.
100%.
100%. 100% you're gonna get laid.
Now you just made it creepy.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how you get laid, is by being creepy. It's always worked for me.
I think we have way different histories on sexual experiences.
We will not have a podcast about that. So do we have any shout-outs for a particular person today?
I couldn't think of a name.
We'll do Doug's.
Doug's?
Doug. We want to thank you for listening to our podcast. We appreciate your continued
Support?
And
understanding of not remembering words.
yeah, our inability to find the right word in a particular situation.
In a particular...
vernacular.
Just overall, Doug, you're a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
You can come in and do this podcast anytime you want.
And I apologize because every time I see you, I'm going to be humming the Doug theme in my head.
Bow, bow.
So if you have any questions or comments...
Well, I think
What?
we should also, since it's the end of the year, and I was thinking about it, I know we've done it before, but I think we should give another shout out to Keisha.
Yeah.
She's definitely helped to spread the word out there about us a little bit, and she links to us almost every episode or comments on it on her Facebook.
Yeah.
And that kind of little stuff helps.
Yeah. I agree.
It's time for reflection. It's appreciated. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. I agree.
So
Keisha,
thank you, Keisha. And Keisha, if you're single, I hear Doug is looking for someone, and Doug is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's pretty
Doug's
cool
actually one of the coolest people I know.
Yeah, totally. He really is. He's really sensitive. Mm-hmm. Not the best looking guy, maybe like a 4 or 5, but...
I don't know. He cleans up nice.
Well, that's true. He does look good in a suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good on you, Doug. So if you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to hear yourself mentioned on air, you can reach us on Twitter at Dueling Ogres, email us at duelingogres@gmail.com, or leave a comment on the podcast page or Facebook. Also be sure to give us a 5-star review on iTunes and a thumbs up or comment on Stitcher. That helps to boost us higher on the cool kids list. So until next week, Ogres, keep your clubs blunt and your tusks sharp. Good night. And Happy New Year!
Rem.
Oh.
My first thing for the new year is to tear you down.
Oh. Like that's different from any
Happy
other
New Year, you sack of shit.
Oh. You won't be hearing next week's podcast because I'll have blown myself up.
Oh, you'll have blown yourself?
Yeah. This got awkward.
Just put a mic right down there. God.
Things people don't want to hear.
It'll be an hour of like... an hour of like listening to a dog messily eat peanut butter off. Boy, we're just full of energy today, huh?
We really are. I've already finished off my Kickstart.
I ran out of my thing of coffee because I mix, half regular and half decaf. And I had, enough for a pot's worth of regular and then, half a container of decaf left. So my coffee is cut so weak now. It's like buying cocaine off of somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know what it's going to be, but it's probably going to be shit. All those times you bought cocaine.
All the times that I did cocaine.
Should I move this mic closer? Should I talk more like a robot when we record?
Yes, you should.
It is the future.
No, you should be alright, because a lot of times you come through a little louder than me anyway.
I no longer have that problem. I don't have my human voice box. I am a robot doing a podcast.
10 seconds of silence. Please.
I cannot silence my dot matrix.
Epidemic.
Not unplugging anything. Nothing is happening. No one is hurt. Sorry.
It wouldn't come up.
You just... Have you seen the Harry Potter movies?
Yeah.
You looked like in, I think it's the first one, when Ron is about to throw up all those slugs.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you just, your face. Just, anyway.
We're at an hour 8, but we've got probably 20 minutes of stuff that...
Okay, well, let me go pee again.
Okay, grab me another Dr. Pepper.
Grab you another Dr. Pepper.
Yes, please.
Right in your face.
Yes.
Dr. Pepper face.
Yes. Right in my Dr. Pepper face.
You're such a fucking weirdo for drinking your soda warm. It's so gross. Like no ice, just sitting out. Ugh.
Okay.
We can talk about resolutions, though. I forgot I have this thing up about, those are no doubt lyrics. Well, I had to pull it out to make sure I was quoting the right lyric for my opening, I'm Just a Girl.
Yeah.